Hi, welcome back to the Trial by Jennifer podcast series. My name is Jennifer Butterfield, your host, and today I have my very first episode with two guests, and I'm so excited. One of them is our returning guest, Terri Lasater, and Shannon Yerington is a brand new guest, and I'm so excited to have them here together. Welcome, Terri. Welcome back. Can you briefly introduce Shannon and tell us a little bit about why you guys are here today?
Sure. Shannon and I have been friends for a very long time, and we get stuck in huge conversations around business and around the love of it and entrepreneurship and what we're doing, and it's just been years of beautiful conversations around that, and the love for that we have for. Helping other women and helping other people in general. We said a long time ago, probably 10 years ago, I don't know what we're doing here, but at some point we're going to have to do something together. And so naturally we started saying, why don't we just meet once a week, see what happens. And so now we've developed or developing this great entrepreneur coaching program for female entrepreneurs, and continuing our love for helping others through that. So it's all coming from the heart organically. And she said, let's go. And so Shannon is, brilliant in business. I couldn't be happier to be working with someone so brilliant. So, yeah.
Love it. Well, I'm so glad to have you both on here. I'm curious, Shannon, can you share a little bit about your background and kind of what inspired you to join forces with Terri and kind of where you see the vision going?
Yeah, I think, so much of what Terri said is true. I think there was kind of this natural knowing for both of us that we would do something down the line together. And over the years, it's unfolded. I think both of us have come from a place of, different hardships in life that we've had to look at and say, how do we take what's in front of us that doesn't look like a lot and make it into something that's beautiful? And she and I have had a lot of great conversation around that. Mm-hmm. And the challenges that women in particular face with so many different areas of life, culturally, socially, kind of coming together and saying, what do I want to do and how do I get there? And so from that, FHG has been formed, but my background has been in business for years, years and years. I owned a check cashing store years ago. I've owned an interior design company myself. Now I work with a few different companies that a guy that lives out of the country owns, and I run for him. And we work with kids that are on the spectrum. We've moved to working with adults on the spectrum and life coaching, counseling, and nutrition services for those kids and adults.
Oh, I just love it. And I love hearing about it. I didn't know the first part of that, but the fact that, first of all, working with children is so fulfilling. But I think that you have to have a special type of heart just to have a little bit in so many different things. And also, I really appreciate you coming on the show and taking the time today to join and talk a little bit about what you guys are doing. Because when Terri reached out to me a few months ago, and we went and had lunch, and she shared with me some of her ideas about this, I was like, is this real life? It really does. It's like, we get to do this,
Yeah.
and it's so neat that, I get to be a witness to you guys growing this empire, if you will. And I'm so excited to see where it goes and what you guys do with it. And it sounds like you guys are already making waves. And before we get into some of the details around the venture, I ask all my guests this question. Terri, you got this question last time, but what was the conversation around personal finance like in your home growing up, Shannon?
It's a great story.
Well, I am one of 5 kids, and my dad worked for the same company for 30 years. Ultimately was the president of this Fortune 500 finance company, and retired young, and then was CEO of another financial services company.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, and so around the dinner table, from the time I was 4 years old, we all 5 kids would sit around. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She had the biggest job of everyone, I think, being a stay-at-home with the five of us. And we would sit around this great dinner that she made every night. You know, it was super important to my dad to sit at the dinner table with all of us. Like, he wanted to have conversation. And we would create businesses. And he'd be like, your brother's going to beat you. Your sister's going to beat you. Why is that business going to fail? Why is this one going to fail? And so from like 4 or 5 years old, those are the conversations I remember around the dinner table. It was the language my dad spoke, and he taught us how to speak it. And so with business comes finance, and kind of the services that he was in were financial services. So that conversation's been in my head and in my life for a long time. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is, and what a cool way to teach your children about personal finance and really just the language of business, because it's like, not only are you having a conversation, but you're creating scenarios. So it's kind of more of an objective approach rather than like, I'm teaching you this thing. But yeah, wow, that's fantastic. And it sounds like it's translated very well.
all of us, actually, all five of us, of businesses, and multiple businesses, actually. So
Wow.
it did translate. It did a good job.
Yeah. That is so neat. That is really, really neat. Thank you for sharing that. And, I'm curious, let's talk a little bit about the mission of what the coaching, what exactly would you call it? Like, I'm calling it a collective, but like, what do you guys refer to it as, the business? And what would you say the mission is with it?
Yeah. I mean, we'll probably bounce off each other. We're real funny. And by the way, FHG means female hustle gene. And the reason that we came up with the female hustle gene is because we have a unique experience. The three of us, there's 3 partners, that has demonstrated that we have an innate ability to do a lot of things that culturally or socially or our family culture, upbringing, all of those things can block us from jumping over those hurdles. And when you're faced with some of the challenges that we have it comes out of necessity. And so we'd love to take all of our mission is to really take all of our experiences of jumping over those hurdles out of and collaborate with women, help them to figure out where they're blocked and to jump over those hurdles themselves. And so, pretty much our mission is to really go out there, see and analyze where you're at. We can meet you where you're at, and then help you to strategize and take some action differently.
Where you're going.
Our short little statement is working with women to get to the why for the win. That's
really
what
we do. I love that. Oh my gosh. And yeah, female hustle gene is great. Oh my God. That is fantastic. That is so exciting. And, I know we've been talking about this for a while, Terri, but, this is the first time you've dropped the name on me. So I'm super excited to hear that this is what you guys have landed on. I mean, this is awesome. I mean, very catchy. And I think it's relatable. But okay. So, I think I'm curious, like, there are a lot of women that are in business, that are in empowering. Can you tell me what's the differentiator for you guys, and what kind of sets you all apart from other organizations or networks that are aimed with empowering women in business?
Well, first of all, it's a good pair of glasses, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you see your glasses?
Yeah,
put them back on.
There you go.
I'm just kidding.
That's them.
Right there. That's
the differentiator.
Yeah.
Very catchy.
It's the heart. I think the thing for us, for Terri and I both, and for Jess, our other partner, there have been obstacles that we've had to look at and really kind of dissect. And so our solution is not cookie cutter. It's not like coming in like, do this, do that, you're going to have this, whatever the outcome is. It's really looking at each situation individually and saying, where are you? Why are you there? And how do we move you to where you want to be? I can't tell you where you want to be.
That's right.
So that the heart and the ear to hear what a woman really is saying. Sometimes we don't say what we mean.
Right.
So getting all the information together to say, this is what I hear you're saying. Do I
Yeah.
hear that correctly?
Yeah.
It's a collaboration. It's an opportunity for us to collaborate and not take over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of times, for me, there isn't a cookie cutter
Yeah.
system. There isn't. And so for me to have someone come to me and collaborate with great ideas, things I may not have thought about, and have strategies to overcome those, like you can come with me with great ideas all day long, and I'm going to, yeah, but I'll go to that. Yeah, but unless I have some action plan, a strategy, something to that effect, right? And we've learned about the hard way. I mean, our master's program has been failure. I can't
Right.
tell you how much failure has taught me how to run my businesses, and we'd love to help navigate that part too and change the mindset of what failure really means, right?
Yes. Yes. Wow. I mean, the wealth of experience amongst the three of you, and I mean, it's really remarkable. I think so many. I love the differentiator, right? Because there's so many programs or like offerings, if you will, services where it's like, okay, this is the plan, and you can mold into this, right? And run through the
Right.
system. My experience in life, generally speaking, has never been the traditional route. I've never gone from step one to step two to step three, college, marriage, house, kids. Like it's always been a little off the
Yeah, me neither.
path and like,
We do
and
everything
it's like,
backwards.
and I think, when you really boil it down, I mean, there are even, women and groups of women in my mind who I really think, went through that step by step process. But when you get down to the causes and conditions of like what life actually looked like from the inside out,
Right.
um, everyone has that like unique story and that unique, like, it's a different set of trials and tribulations, if you will. And so I love the personalized and unique approach that you guys are coming to the table with. That's so exciting.
Yeah, it's a good point because I think that we not only do we focus on the business and where you're at as an entrepreneur, we also focus on the personal place that you're at. I think culturally, women are you have these roles that have been placed on us that we like to break down. And don't tell me I can't do anything. That's a challenge accepted. And I think that it also becomes where are you personally with your self worth, your self esteem,
Mm-hmm.
and we're coming in on that special avenue as well. I think it's real important, right?
If you look at like even just a piece of what I shared with you guys today, my mom, who I value extremely,
Yeah.
she was a stay-at-home mom with five. I didn't want to do that. But
Right.
I was married the first time at 19 because if that's what I had to do, I was gonna do it that
Right.
route. You know? So, but I was miserable. I liked those conversations about business at the dinner table.
Yeah.
That's where my mind went. That's what I wanted to do. I am a cookie cutter of my dad in so many ways.
Me too.
That's his language is business. Like he can sit at any table and get into a business conversation with people he doesn't know 100% of the time. So, I had to look at like, okay, what am I really trying to do here? Do I want to be a stay-at-home mom with five kids? No, I didn't. But I see the value for my mom, and I appreciate what she gave me. There was a lot that she gave me in that too. So, being at a place to say like, thank you for the experience. I want to go a different route as a woman is sometimes hard. And you
Yeah.
get
As you're saying this, like there's so many things that are popping in my head, and I'm going to go a little off script here, but I'm thinking about kind of when you said meeting women where they're at, I was sharing with Terry, I think at one point I'm in this women's personal finance group. It's got probably like 80,000 women in it. And it's some of the most intelligent and brilliant women I've ever met. I mean, I don't know them personally. It's on the internet, but like fantastic group. I mean, you could search engine anything and like there's been plenty of conversation about it. And but you see these women who are in like it almost makes me emotional to think about because I've been there, where they're in these positions where they have been staying at home or they're financially dependent on a man, their husband, and he's cheated or there's abuse or and they're like, I don't know what to do here, and I've got
I'm on.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, so, I'm like, when I hear you say like we want to meet people where they're at, women where they're at, it's like, okay, so you can meet the girl that just got out of college that isn't sure which way she wants to
Right.
go. You can meet the stay-at-home mom who like maybe is happy in her marriage or whatever it may be, but like wants to have a little bit more security, or maybe they're at that crossroads and it's crisis, right? And then on the other side, maybe they're just a solo entrepreneur that are wanting to. I love that diversity. Like that is so important. And I feel like this is the solution to a lot of the problems that women have been facing with the ambiguity in their roles. Whatever that means, I
It's a perfect definition of autonomy, taking care of my own personal, physical, and spiritual well-being,
yeah.
that I have something that is all about me, that I can be proud of and stand on my own 2 feet with or without you, brings me to a very secure place in marriage and relationships, and not only romantic relationships but all my relationships, right?
Yeah.
And so how important it is to come to that place, so that if my husband is cheating, and that's happened, we certainly have experience with that, and leaves, and
Oh,
all the things, then absolutely, had I had that together a little bit and something of myself, I would not have had such a catastrophic result from that. And so we can help guide all of that. Boy, can we help guide. Girl,
Yeah.
get
yeah.
it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm so relieved to hear this. Hallelujah. I mean, this is just the best news. I mean, I think in practical application, there's nothing that really makes much more sense than this right now. I mean, I don't think there is enough of this out there, and hopefully this continues to inspire other people to utilize their skills and talents. But I think it starts right here in the center. And I'm curious, Terri, we talked in our last episode, you're a serial entrepreneur, you're a mother of four. Can you highlight some of the unique challenges that women face in business development? And I know there's a wide spectrum, right? So can you talk a little bit about your experience with that?
Sure, sure. So that it encompasses so many veins, right? Culturally, I'm in mostly male dominated fields in my businesses, and so I've had to overcome, the fact that I do know a few things about, swinging a hammer. I do know a few things about cutting hair. I will not cut your hair. You don't want me to cut you. I own a barbershop. You don't want me to cut your hair. I won't do that to you. I know that the expertise is the barber behind the chair, and so the challenges of being taken seriously, as an entrepreneur and a business developer, that's a challenge, but it's a unique female hustle characteristic that I
Yeah.
can sit back and be quiet for a long time. You know, I can take all of that in and show you what I can do, right? So
Yeah.
that's one, and I think that the family upbringing. My dad was telling me, oh no, my husband had left. I had 3 babies. I had another child, older child, and what was I going to do? I'd been a stay-at-home mom for all this time. 3 babies, 3, 4, and 5, and no child support. Left us for dead. Whatever. And he said, you need to get a 9 to 5. And I said, how am I going to pay childcare for $1,500 a month? There's no way I can afford to do that. And he said, you can't do this construction thing. And I said, okay, challenge accepted.
Watch.
And there, watch me. And it really, I listened to him, but I didn't. And I never really listened much to my parents anyway, but you know what I mean. So I took that as a challenge, and I had to get creative. I would take those kids in the big old Suburban with snacks and games to the job sites. I'd go check in the job sites, and not leave them in the car or anything by themselves, but I could see them where I was, and they had a blast. We'd make a day out of it. We just got creative. Just get
Yeah.
creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It requires creative solutions because I think, what we're facing in society today is like there are so many different roles women have in society. I think there's so much more of a linear
There you
pattern with men, right? But women, I mean, ever since women entered the workforce and we've been trying to bridge the gap between motherhood and women in the workforce. And, I mean, just like 50 years ago, not even, it'll be 50 years in October that women
yeah.
had the right to own a bank
Yeah.
account or like take out
That's
a
right. Credit
right,
cards.
build a
Right.
credit, right?
Yeah.
And so then it's also like, well, gosh, I mean, look at where we're coming from. Like there weren't breastfeeding laws passed back then, I mean, we had to like foot that whole I guess revolution in a way. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just, I mean, we're still not paid equally, and that's the thing that's crazy is like women aren't going to go put their money in some trust in the Cook Islands. They're going to spend that, that's going to like totally nourish our economy. So I
I
mean,
think
Yeah.
there's like a unique responsibility that our generation has too,
Yeah.
right? Like we're early 50s. Jess is a little bit younger, and we're the first generation that's really been allowed to do as women what we wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I raise a daughter. I helped to raise a stepdaughter and a stepson.
Yeah.
The message I give my daughter looks very different than the one my mother gave me, but the message my mother gave me, I'm grateful for.
right.
She did the best with what she had, and she built beautiful kids,
Yeah.
and a beautiful life for herself and my dad. And I just get to do it a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so the responsibility I feel to generations behind me is huge. How do we get to a spot that we can value ourselves? And, for men in business, it's been easy. They go up by muscle. Sometimes not the right men, quite honestly. Enough muscle, you can get up the ladder,
Yeah.
Right.
But women have a more nurturing side often. This business is not at the exclusion of men. We love men too. It's just because our experience happens to be female,
Right.
and we know the challenges that females face.
Right.
And we're open to the idea of, I think that a linear corporation that are starting, the men driven corporations are starting to see there's evidence now of the benefit of having that softer side of a female.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how we could go in and help a corporation that's male driven. Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I know that insight that women characteristics often tend to provide drive the thing that everybody's interested in, which is bottom line profits. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that beautiful. It's really beautiful. I'm curious, Shannon, Terri commented on some of the challenges she's seen women face. Can you talk about some significant hurdles in your career that have shaped your vision for the female hustle gene?
Yeah, I think we were talking the other day. One of the things that has really kind of impacted the way I do things today, and ensures I do them with integrity. I don't know, it's probably 15 years or so ago. I'd been promoted 9 times in 4 years in this one company, right? And they were rewriting job descriptions for me. And hey, I said, I don't have those qualifications. And they were like, we're going to rewrite the job description. You're going to move into that position. And I came to the top of the organization, and the executive director said, fire those 2 people or I'm going to fire you. And I said, tell me what they did. She said, I don't like them. And I said, I'm not going to fire them. And she said, you're going to challenge me on this. And I said, yeah. And so, I go home and I'm thinking, hey, I'm doing the right thing. Good's going to come. It's going to be great. And I was fired for, holding that to and it hurt me a lot. And it was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Oh my gosh.
Like to be able to stay and in my integrity, no matter whether or not I stayed in that company, and to see like when I finally was removed, it looked so attractive. Right. Promoted 9 times in 4 years, like who gets that, right? It was crazy increases and everything else and more responsibility, and I liked that. It fed a part of me, but I know that for me, my values and people that I relate to come first. And so if someone hasn't done something against me, I'm not going to fire them. I know that impacts the whole family, everything else. And so,
Right.
I got to see it was a woman that was the head of that organization, actually. And I think there was a lot of good in her, and she'd lost something.
Yeah.
In that kind of hustle to the top.
Drive for the power and all of that.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that for women, a lot of times the opportunity that we have is to be the heads of organizations with compassion and with the focus on the people that are in the organization.
Yes.
And the bottom line.
Yeah.
Because it's in the business I'm in now. We're working with kids on the autism spectrum. It's hugely rewarding, and it's a business. If I don't make money, I cannot support the business to help more kids. Right. There's a way that has to work. So it's not one or the other. It's balance. And I think women have a unique opportunity to see that. Definitely from my challenges, I've had to get to a different place.
I learned that from being a tyrant. I learned that from being a jerk face. That didn't work. But taking care of and I think that coming into my own maturity too, like learning what my true values and integrity and character is and continues to develop. And I want that same not only in my personal life but in my business life. And it's worked very well. So the vision, like the vision is that contentment and joy and happiness can be in your business and your home, right?
I think the conversation for women has been, to be successful in business you have to give up so much, and I don't think that's the truth. And I don't think it's that you have to burn yourself out either.
Right.
I think there's a way to do the things you love with the people you love in your life. And it has been such an aggressive message for women because we're newer in the workforce to say, like, okay, to be the head of whatever, you're going to have to do all these things. And don't get me wrong, I've done some of those things, like where I've hustled and, missed time with my kids. And I'm like, man, why'd I do that? I've had to learn the hard way that I don't have to do that. And so it's really in my heart and soul to be able to say to the next woman, you don't have to do that. We can do this the way we want to. What's important to you.
It's counterintuitive culturally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say this is such a refreshing message. And I also, Shannon, I want to speak to your story about your ethical integrity, because I think so many people that would be put in that position facing the loss of their own financial security, right? And like ability to provide for themselves, and greed, and like all of these pressures externally that are pushing on them to be selfish, right? And like give up the other people to save your own, what? And it's like, that speaks volumes of you. When faced with a decision like that you would make the choice that is the harder one, right? Like the road less traveled, that, you're not going to succumb to the manipulation tactic of this person not liking these people, but saying it's you or them, and, what a ethical dilemma. And also, like, kudos to you for choosing what, is true to you in your heart, and that being the right path. And I always say, like, when one door closes, another one opens. And
it was like that door closed and the world opened, though. That's the craziest part. I had the most beautiful summer with my daughter as a single mom at the time, and had great time with my family that I hadn't had for a while. And then it was like that door closed, but the whole world opened up because I knew I could stand in my own truth. So it was like that door shut. I can't even imagine what I'd be doing if I was still with them. My life would look so different, and I would not ever trade what I have now. So yeah.
Well, and I think it brings this theme too of what you guys are sharing. It's like leading with this nurturing side, which is so counterintuitive. I think so much in the business realm has been led by men predominantly being in the workforce up until, women did enter. And it's very masculine, like driven, like to the point, like get out of my way, aggressive, right? And like there are other tactics for negotiation, for, business, and like meeting people, networking, all of these things, promotions, salary negotiations. And so it's like to see um, permission, right, for women to kind of just relax into our intuition, right? Which is, I think, like the strongest force for me is like when I'm connected to that like gut instinct.
Right.
I'm able to, but it's crazy because I get these messages that I need to operate as if, I need to conform to this male dominated industry. And I love that you guys are talking about this counterintuitive approach, because I think honing in on those elements of women in business, there's not enough of that. So I'm very impressed. I really am. And I'm curious, can you guys talk a little bit about long-term goals? Like, where do you see this in 5 years? And what exactly do you guys have in terms of measurement of success, right? Which is a big, big topic, and the impact of this endeavor on women in business development.
It's a good question, right?
It is.
It's a good question because we didn't have an end game in this deal. And I think that because our heart and our experience is been driven by the idea of helping other people, there isn't a financial goal. There's not that we don't want to make money. We just know that being in the moment and working organically has produced so much more for us in our own businesses than having an end game. We're lucky, right, and blessed that we have other companies that are successful. And so because of that, we can relax into this and not define it so much, and let it be driven by, God and organically.
I think the other thing I find is I often am the one that limits myself when I set financial goals at some of the companies I'm at. And I look back on the years and I'm like, why is that why I set why is that the goal I set for that year?
Right.
I did 10 times that.
Right.
I think sometimes, not that it's not important to look at the financial piece of it, it is very important. But at these early stages, it's more of a vision and kind of moving in the direction that we're organically led. And I think that will take care of itself. And then there will be lots of metrics that we measure, I'm sure, at some point. But at this point, it's more that the vision of being able to bring something different to women.
And to help a lot of women, have their own strength and brevity and courage to be who they are authentically. It's a organic evolvement.
And I think the success for us, just in the conversation, is measured by the women's lives that we impact. That's really,
Yes.
we're able to partner and see someone like really excel and grow. That feeds my soul. I want to see the next person grow.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I was just going to say, measured by like the resilience of a woman standing on her own 2 feet and looking back and saying, wow, look at how far I've come with your help, and I'll just say this, I mean, obviously financial growth is a huge part of business. But the impact that can have on a woman's life, like money is just the tool, it's just the vehicle, right? And so having more time and freedom to raise their children, if that's what they want to do, to take care of aging parents, to start a new venture, to travel the world, like all of these things, really it's the freedom of having agency over your time, right? And so, I mean, I think that's just incredible, that you guys don't have the pressure of like, this needs to succeed financially. We've got these other ventures that are well established and self-sufficient, if you will, and we can just focus on doing what we love, which is like this women empowerment. It's the female hustle gene. I love it.
We do too.
I'm loving it. So based on your experiences, there are women, most of my audience, I've actually been a little bit surprised. Like some of my analytics in the past couple months on certain platforms have been mostly male dominated. And I'm like, that's surprising, but I guess they like the finance thing. But, there are a couple of them where it's like off the charts women, and they're, 35 to 45 to 50. And I'm curious, a lot of these women are starting their own ventures. They're just now becoming entrepreneurs. Um, I know I talk to women on a daily basis that they started a thing, but they don't know which direction to take it. It's almost like this analysis paralysis. Like, I don't know what, with your experiences in mind, what advice would you give women who are just starting out on this journey?
I think it's important to look at the financial piece. I think so many women have great ideas, and it is important. Finances are important. It's important to kind of see where you are, what your resources are, and how quickly you can move to the direction you want to go, and be realistic about that. We do have other financial ventures that support what we're doing here, and so there's a little less pressure. That hasn't been the case for me always.
Right.
When there are certain businesses I started that I'm like, if this doesn't make this amount by this time, I'm out. I can't keep pouring something in to something that's, dying.
Right.
And so I think it's important for women to educate themselves. I think that education for me grows every day. Like, I want to educate myself till I die. There's so many things I don't know. This world is huge, right? But there's some things I know really well. And one of them is to educate myself when I get into something. So I think, that's the thing. I think women have these great ideas and often don't get the education because of all the other pressures that are around them. Take time at night, whenever it is, carve out a few minutes and get the education you need for what it is you're passionate about.
Right.
It takes you a lot farther, a lot faster. I did things the hard way too many times, I think.
Yeah. I think anytime if you could work on your business a little bit every day, then you're working on your business, right? It's going to affect your business.
Right.
So any moment, anytime, working on your business is your business. So that's one thing. If you're always and getting into, we'll have a podcast at some point. It'll be real funny.
Yeah, we're very.
We should hear the topics we're pulling out of our ass.
I'm so excited.
It's gonna be funny.
We're pretty good.
Yeah.
If no one else laughs, we will.
We think we're real funny.
I can't wait to see it. And yeah, I think that's a good place to pivot. Okay, well, before we get into that, one more question on just generally speaking, women in business. What are some common misconceptions about women in business that you're hoping to challenge through this work? And I think we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but I think you guys probably have some pretty cool insights on that. So I wanted to make sure to ask that question because, yeah.
Hit it.
Go for it.
There's so many misconceptions. You hear that women that get to the top are, rough, whatever, aggressive, whatever the word.
Yeah.
That's not usually the word they use, but I'm trying to clean it up a little bit. That's not always the case. You have to give up something to get to the top. That's not the case. I know that to be the truth. In fact, sometimes if your only goal is getting to the top, you do give up. I think that's the thing. That's what I've seen. If my only goal is to get to the top, then I've given up a lot. But if my goal is to live my truest life, I gain everything. So there's 1,001 misconceptions about women. I think there's so many cultural and social and
I think that some of the strongest misconceptions is that you don't have time to do it. Don't tell me. I had 4 kids and, had to. I'll be the wrong coach. The misconception is that you don't have the time to do it. The misconception is that you need money to start a business. That's not true. And the misconception is that it's linear, right? There's we delved into every business that we've delved into to this point. There's many streams of income to make out of one idea. And so getting involved in like forums, Facebook forums, groups and that kind of stuff, and asking a lot of questions. I think education is good, and that's a form of it. I think taking some action. The misconception that failure is
instead of success, it's part of success.
It's part of success. It's not
huge.
instead of success. That's a good one. I'm gonna
Oh
write
my
that
God. We've got it on tape. We've
down.
got
Okay,
it on
I got it on
You're
tape.
watching
All right,
recording.
good.
Well, it's so interesting. Actually, the same thing came up in the last podcast episode, but I was telling my last guest, I was in this class, who I actually did a podcast with this professor I had too, but he's from Israel, and this isn't political or anything, but he went to school in Tel Aviv and did the inscription, and so served his 2 years, and then um, he came over to America, and he teaches this course, and he gave us this book to read that throughout the semester called Startup Nation, and it talks about Israel and like the tech hub that it is, and just how I mean, you look at an 18-year-old over in Israel versus an 18-year-old here in the United States, and like they're having to command a squadron of life or death, with their people, and so their resiliency and ability to survive is much more dire, I think, than like somebody who's going to, college, right out of high school. And one of the things that I took away from the book was, and it was so profound, was just how much they value failure in the Israeli culture. Like it is an integrated part of success, and there's no shame, no need to hide it. Like it is expected, and it's like there isn't this emotional tie to it. It's just like, okay, keep going. There isn't this pause, and I think you bringing that up, it's just so important to have that reminder, because I think so many of us can get really caught up with like the feeling and like I think my experience has been like when somebody's like hating on whatever I'm doing, I'm like, I had to learn not to take it personally,
Sure.
but I also think like not everything is going to succeed, but that's why you have to keep trying. Right. So really good point. Really, really good point. Um, can you give us a little sneak peek of what to expect from your upcoming podcast?
We're not sure. We're not sure we can say
A
it
lot
on.
of
I'm just
irreverence.
kidding. Irreverent. You can expect to have a lot of fun and to not take yourself so seriously. We're gonna have topics that may not be for everyone.
Love it.
It may not be for us.
It may not be for us. We don't know. But but we're also going to talk about serious topics, on how to move forward and where you're at, and I think we'll have some really great guests on. But we're going to have a good banter back and forth. I think
we'll have fun in life. That is one thing I know about Terri and I going forward, is we will have a fun life. That's it.
It's going to be fun.
I can't wait to listen to it. I'm going to be a regular listener without a doubt. And once promotion starts happening for it, I am very excited to promote for you all and spread the word. And I just want to say thank you so much to both of you for coming on the podcast and joining me today. And I really can't thank you enough for setting the time aside.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
and we're real inspired by you too, and listening to your podcast. And it's been very inspiring. I'm really proud of you. And think you're doing a killer job.
Thank you. Well, I'm so excited to see the venture grow, and I'm sure that there will be intermingling and affiliating between the two of our ventures for a long time to come, is my hope. So I support you guys, and I'm so excited to see where it goes. And yeah, that's really neat. And for those of you who are tuning in next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Time, I'm going to be having guest Octavia Ratu on, talking about the impact of stress with work and the work-life balance on health. And she's a health coach with endocrinology. And so I'm excited to have her on to talk about that and some solutions. So for those of you who will be tuning in, we'll see you next week, and take care.
Thank you.